Welcome to how Burnout Paradise has influenced modern memes. If y'all are here for the meme bit and not the Burnout Paradise bit, and y'all don't know what Burnout Paradise is, well, the game itself is over 10 years old, and this particular video is featuring a DLC that came out in 2009. And it's pretty much just a demolition derby type game. It's a racing game, open world, and you wreck people to win, pretty much. You don't have to necessarily wreck people to win a race, but there is a whole mode involving wrecking people. That is the point of it, and that's the joy of this game. There's a great damage model, and you get to see cars wreck at really high speeds. What does that have to do with memes? Well, it's not exactly the game itself, but it's the locations in the game. And to be exact, this is one of the locations in the 2009 DLC. That is the Big Surf Island DLC. This particular game that I'm showing is actually from the remastered version, but this site has been around since 2009 to the public to see. So it looks better than the initial game, but it is the same exact as the initial game site, so it wasn't updated to be hip for whatever the word is nowadays to say something that's cool. Hopefully y'all even know what cool means. Is that still used? I don't know. Y'all get what I mean. It wasn't updated to try to act like it's 2018. This was around in 2009. And well, this being what's on camera here. No, not the scar. But this. Y'all may be thinking that this isn't necessarily modern meme. Because these is donuts. That's just like these nuts, which is what the whole presidential thing was in 2016. These nuts was the most popular candidate that wasn't on the official ballot. And that's fair. But have y'all noticed in the last few years that just saying these nuts is involved to even more stuff that's kind of the same? Like the Ligma thing, and there's honestly a whole heck of a heap more out there that I probably don't even know about, because honestly I don't care that much about the... If one person thinks it's funny and that person happens to be popular, they can make it to where a lot of people think it's funny because they have a big following. Y'all might know who I'm talking about here, but that's not what I'm going to get into. What I'm going to get into is how the Ligma, or these nuts, or even before that, was around well before that, or now, or really any time that y'all may be thinking. Because I have a story of, like, my own self being involved with Burnout Paradise influencing memes. Around about 2011, 2012 or so, before the PlayStation 4 came out, Burnout Paradise was still pretty popular. 2009, the DLC came out. I can't remember exactly when, if it was early or late, but nonetheless, I didn't actually get it. But I did like Burnout Paradise. So there were people at my school who were playing Burnout Paradise with the DLC. And they knew I liked it, so we talked and stuff about it some. It wasn't the most popular game in the world, but it did have some conversations. And eventually people were saying, there's these nuts in Burnout Paradise. And that being like the obvious joke. Even though the these nuts circa 2016 didn't exist yet. Because this was about 2011 or so. I didn't get what they were talking about. And I didn't really truly understand it until I went back to actually do some research back then. Because about 2011-ish, when that was talked about, I wasn't all that much in the loop in terms of like internet stuff. I'm not really tons now either, but at least now I about to follow them on YouTube. And I'm just more like informed in general. I'm not just in middle school or just going to high school with it. Now I'm in college, so that helps. But I then figured out that the DLC, which was Big Surf Island, which I knew about, but was too expensive for me to really have justification to get, had a place called Deeze's Donuts. It's pretty obvious that this is meant to be a joke. And what makes it kind of more ironic, too, is that Burnout Paradise itself has no people in it. It's all cars. As y'all can see here, it's just cars. So for a game literally completely about cars to influence what people say, that's pretty cotton picking good right yonder. And then let's fast forward a few years to about 2014, 2015. That's when I started hearing these nuts references on the internet, not just around my friends who happened to play Burnout Paradise. At that point, I still didn't have the DLC, and I didn't actually get it till the remastered copy came out this year. I just got the remastered copy that had the DLC. But that's when it started to become popular on the internet. And lo and behold, what also sort of gained a bit of popularity on the internet? Burnout Paradise back then, too. It kind of had the Skate 3 type appeal. It was an older game that a lot of people liked when they were younger, but when it came out, YouTube itself wasn't quite as popular back then. So they figured it still had worth selling in the modern times, aka 2015, 2016. So they showed it, and by default they sold Big Surf Island because generally the big YouTubers who made Burnout Paradise popular on YouTube had the DLC. So that was just sort of kind of in-joke along that as well. So then, Deez's Donuts got known around people who watched YouTubers who happened to play Burnout Paradise, as well as just the Burnout Paradise community that's been around for well before then as well. So that's even that more of a mass appeal now for the Deez's Donuts to become a meme. And well, 2016, Deez Nuts ran for president and finished third. That's pretty picking good right yonder. I ain't gonna say who I voted for, but y'all can probably look back in past videos and figure it out. But yeah, that's a pretty good showing by a writing candidate there. Got I can't remember the exact number, but it was actually enough to matter. It wasn't like a point something number. It was like almost double digits, I think, in terms of total percent of votes. And that made These Nuts pretty much an official meme that everyone knew at it. By that point, it was pretty much a household name. And then now it's 2018, and then the Ligma thing was invented, which means Ligma Nuts. These Nuts, Ligma Nuts, kind of sounds familiar there, doesn't it? And then, nowadays, that's even a bit old now. In my opinion, even when the Ligma thing started, it wasn't that funny just because it was a rehash of These Nuts, which was basically kind of a rehash of Deez's Donuts. Again, I don't know if the saying These Nuts was truly invented by people who noticed the in-joke in Burnout Paradise, but I will say this is the first time I ever saw it was from that. It was, I guess, about 2011. Which is somewhat odd too, because the DLC itself came out in 2009, and I didn't even recognize that Deez's Donuts was a place in game to 2011. Not really sure what the reasoning is behind that, but that just is my overall experience, so I'm just telling it as it is. I don't really have a reasoning why it took about 2 years for it to be talked about at all, because it is a pretty known, place in the game. There's actually a point in it where if you get to the right place, you can actually jump through the hole in the middle. And as y'all can see here, this, if you quit playing the game long enough, it goes into like a cutscene type thing. And instead of just roaming around the streets and stuff, the game purposely focuses on these donuts. So they wanted that to be a focal point. The actual place itself is called Deez's Donuts. So I think they knew that was going to be a joke. That they know it was going to become so popular that someone ran for president under a moniker that was kind of the reference of it? Well, who knows? But nonetheless, that's the story of how Burnout Paradise has influenced modern memes. Will something along the lines of Deez's Donuts get a reference in the future? Probably. I feel like talking about nuts is just funny in modern culture because reasons. I don't know. I did honestly, truly, really think that the Nissel thing around 2011 was funny. I thought that was a nice reference that they threw in there. But by 2014, 2015, when people actually started saying these nuts, other than the Nissel day or two, I heard it thinking that, I wonder if this has to do with Burnout Paradise. The novelty kind of wore off for me. And by 2016, when someone ran for president under These Nuts, Yeah, it was amusing, but I was kind of tired of it, and I knew that it was just purely a joke and it was pointless. And now, 2018, with the whole Ligma thing, it's really annoying. But nonetheless, I'm not trying to take away from you happening to like the modern memes, but I'll just say this, I like the original better. These is Donuts spurred a whole heck of a heap of recreations throughout over 10 years now. Or almost 10 years, this was 2009 DLC. And could be around for generations more, who knows. It's hard to say how long memes will last, especially the modern ones, just because memes in general are kind of a new thing being called a meme. There's been versions of memes forever, but calling it a meme is kind of a new thing. So would this be a generational type thing? I don't know. Will Burnout Paradise itself be a generational type game? Possibly, because it may be the last of its kind. If there are new Burnout games in the future, maybe we'll see tie-ins to something like this too, and then maybe that will refuel a fire of these as donuts to have new purpose put in a new way to actually make it relevant again. More than just having a rehash, having the actual thing be relevant again. And that would be nice, and then the whole cycle would go full circle, and then maybe it could be. That's kind of up to EA if they want to make a new Burnout game, but I would certainly like them to. Seemed like the remaster was popular, and some of the stuff involved in the game has stayed popular throughout the whole time. That's kind of the reason that a lot of people want Skate 4. It in and of itself has kind of become a meme, meaning the Skate franchise, and especially Skate 3. EA capitalized this on the one that was less popular, being Burnout, and it did pretty good. If there's a new Skate game, I may very well do how Skate influenced modern memes as well, but this seems to be the more popular meme as of now. Was it influenced by the game getting a remaster, making it a popular again in 2018? Who knows, but it definitely didn't hurt. These is Donuts has been popular now for almost 10 years. And maybe, just maybe, may stay around for a lot more. Nonetheless, it's definitely had an influence on anyone who happens to have a Ligma. So, is that worth yeehaw? I don't know. I'll be honest, this meme has kind of scarred me by now. But it could be made good again. Maybe.